Alright, so I think I made up my mind. I am going to go ahead and pop the 3090 Ti, get it in the mining / gaming PC, and go ahead and use it. Let's talk about it, kind of go over, unbox, go hands-on, get it in there, take a look at some performance, some hash rates, and that stuff real quick, and commit to the 3090 Ti. So I know ultimately that this is pretty inefficient technology money, particularly with what's happened with video cards, specifically in the last few weeks, as the prices and the values have just utterly tanked from where things were before. But at least the merge that was supposed to happen, that was going to put Ethereum on its proof of stake future sooner than later, seems to have failed. Looks like mining is going to be operable for Ethereum for at least a few months, and with the way things go in tech, you kind of have to make decisions for the way things are today, not the way they might be, or waiting around too long. I've already made the mistakes a bunch of times by not just keeping the computer running, gaming when I want to game, but mining all of the other hours of the day, trying to hedge what might have happened or what might not have happened and such. So we have the capability right now to run basically the most powerful graphics card for gaming that we possibly can, and still pop several dollars a day out of it in excess of power. So why not take that? Ideally the 4000 series is going to come this fall. The value of this thing will probably tank when that happens, but so be it. When will the 4000 series actually come out? What will it actually cost? What versions of cards will come out first? We don't know any of that. So got to be careful in tech for waiting too long, or waiting for this or waiting for that. Sometimes it's better to just use what you got. So I was able to get my hands on this thing. It is unequivocally the most powerful gaming performance that you can buy for now and the foreseeable future. It runs cooler with the memory chips all on one side, and it's going to kick some of the biggest hash rates that I can get for Ethereum. So this is the EVGA 3090 Ti FTW3 Ultra. Always nice packaging for this kind of stuff. Nice dense heavy foam, well protected, and this thing is just a monster, an absolute monster of a GPU. So inside here we have the E-leash, the E-leash stuff. So this thing is so big and so heavy that they actually give you a cord, more or less, to hang from the floating corner of the card up to the top of your case to prevent sag and so on. But other reviews and other videos that I've seen taking a look at this have suggested that it really doesn't sag very much. I don't know if that will actually be necessary. I might use it just to use it. I don't know. We'll see. We have the power connector, the new 16 pin or 12 pin to 3. This thing sucks energy like crazy. We get a little bit of install guide documentation, predominantly about the E-leash, hardware installation, power supply, and so on. Not a whole lot to that. We have some bracketing. This card includes a retention bracket for attaching to some select chassis. FTW3 retention bracket. Don't expect to be needing that or using it. I will be putting this into a fractal, relatively new fractal style case, and then a little sticker, a metal badge. EVGA, powered by EVGA. Alright, let's take a look at the meat and potatoes. The video card that's probably heavier and roughly the same volume as an Xbox Series X itself. Just kind of flat out ridiculous. So there we go. 3 big fans. Crazy thick. Connection side. This thing's wrapped up in a lot of plastic to peel all that plastic off. So we do have 1, 2, 3 display ports and 1 HDMI. Let me make a little bit of a rant right off the bat. I really wish these graphics card manufacturers put 2 freaking HDMI ports on these cards. Standard. 2 display ports. If you're going to do 4 ports, why do you do 3 and 1? Do 2 HDMI and 2 display ports. It took, only a couple of vendors in the earlier 3000 series were even putting 2 HDMI ports on the card. And with the 3090 Ti's, nobody did. Even Asus and Gigabyte have seemed to stop doing that. EVGA never has. So I'm going to have to, in order to be able to run to both of my zones, to my theater zone and to the living room zone, I am going to maybe move off of kind of some of the Zone 2 setup and go a little more discreet. So I'm going to end up trying a DisplayPort to HDMI 2.1 adapter again, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know the exact weight on this thing. It is pretty hefty. Flip the switch to the fastest BIOS there. I know how many people out there have gone ahead and installed video cards still with some of the plastic film on. I know I've done that at least once. And I was back in my computer doing some maintenance, realized, oh boy, that film is still on there. Thankfully it didn't melt down or anything. But you always want to look over all the little bits and pieces and make sure that you've got all the films off. I think I do. So just in case you were wondering, there's a 3090 up against an Xbox Series X. Oops, sorry for the jumble there. Borderline the same height, almost the same width, not quite the same depth. But that's just nuts. Alright, so in here already has been the Asus 3080 Ti that I've been running for several months. So we'll go ahead and get this guy out. Already a 3-pin card, so I already have the wires and such run. I think I am ultimately opting with this decision to stick to PC as kind of my gaming platform of choice. I just really do prefer it. The graphic fidelity, the game retention. I don't tend to do too much multiplayer. I don't really tend to get into mods, but the other benefits are just too good. And I do like having one element to my audio video stuff to tinker with in this capacity. Let's lay these guys next to each other and take a look. Interestingly, the Asus is actually longer. This is a pretty big card, I suppose. I guess maybe the 3090 Ti isn't quite as monolithically impressive as I thought. It's definitely deeper, but that Asus was already longer. Although granted, you do have to make room or an account for the power adapter kind of coming off the right hand side there. Asus in this hand, EVGA over here, of course. PC hardware is so fun. One more bracket out. Alright, we're secured pretty good. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I think that bracket is largely superfluous. As you can see, I keep my PC build as clean as possible. This computer basically has two purposes, or one main purpose, you could debate, is it mines when it's idle, and it games very little while I am able to spend some of my time gaming. And that's pretty ugly. Although now I have the ability to take the whole slab of wire and kind of push it into the back of the computer, hide it all away. So there we are, tied in, locked down. Cable management. Cable management's one of the fun things about building a PC. I don't think I really need to use the leash though. So there we are, EVGA 3090 Ti installed. Pretty beastly. I didn't decide to use the E-leash. I fiddled around with it a little bit, but it's kind of funky the way it's just a little piece of wire and you have to unscrew it and retighten it. I don't think it's necessary. That thing's in there solid. The side plate and all of the construction of that card is pretty rock solid. So I'm going to get this thing fired up. Alright, so we got the 3090 Ti installed, got the computer back up on top of the rack, connected. Of course, easy update, didn't really even need to update anything. Moving from a 3080 Ti Nvidia to a 3090 Ti, it's basically just plug and play, reinstall some drivers and so on. So it's looking pretty good. I'm going to end up probably I will end up putting the computer on a kilowatt power meter see exactly how much energy that thing is using, particularly for mining, because I need to know that for expenses and so on. But it's pretty beastly. Fills up that case quite nicely, as we saw, basically the size of an Xbox Series X. Pretty wild. So I did do a little bit of experimentation. Last year, actually, I played Red Dead Redemption through on the PC all the way through. Played the majority of it actually on a prior 3090 card. And so here's a quick look at the benchmark anyway. So I ran the game at pretty high settings just for reference. The rest of my computer is it's an Intel 11900K CPU, an Asus Z590A motherboard, 32 gig DDR4 memory, and a 2 terabyte Western Digital, I think SN850, PCI Gen 4 SSD running in that Fractal Meshify case with the NZXT water cooler, all-in-one water cooler for the CPU, and an 850 watt power supply. Seems to be or should be enough to still manage the power for the 3090 Ti. So Red Dead 2, I ran the base benchmark. I did my best, a little bit of tuning, but basically trying to max the game out. Native 4K resolution, not turning on DLSS or anything like that. Running it in HDR mode and such. VSync off. So here's the 3080 Ti result. And the thing to note about that is particularly that benchmark, the very beginning of it, the snowy portion. On the 3080 Ti, that was dropping into like the mid 40s. It held up at or above 60 through most of the rest of the benchmark. So, but then I did it again, same benchmark, again, same settings, just the video card swap in the same computer after everything stabilized and the drivers reinstalled and so on. And wow, the 3090 Ti really kind of kicked some butt of that 3080 Ti, in that game anyway, in particular. So the average frame rate is a pretty significant bump up, but that initial snowy scene, it was rocking 60. There was a couple of fallbacks, but the fallbacks were like to 58 FPS instead of into the 40s, and then everything else was well in excess of 60. So that's pretty awesome, being able to run games more powerfully. That's what I want. If I'm in a PC game, for me, it's all about just overwhelming horsepower. If I wanted to save money and I was going to put convenience and that sort of thing, accessibility at the top of my criteria for how I wanted to play games and do stuff like that, then I would just buy consoles. It's just so much easier. It's smaller, it's simpler, it's cheaper, it's cooler, and you grab a controller, you turn it on, you quick resume your game, and you're good to go. But PC is all about getting that full-on quality, and if I'm going to go PC, I'm going all out. So that's why I go for the top CPUs. That's why I went for the 3090 Ti, and I build my computer specifically with that design sense in mind. Throw the horsepower at it, not fooling around with like running lower resolutions. I want to get to 4K 60 maxed out, ultra settings, or eventually even higher than that once I get my displays, up to being able to do 4K 120. To me, that's what PC gaming is all about. So pretty happy with that. And on the mining side, I did set up T-Rex miner version 0.25.9, I think it was. And so setting a locked core clock to about 1250 and setting a memory overclock of about 1300, boosting the fans up to 100 as well. I was easily getting in excess of 120 megahash on Ethereum. Here's kind of a little historical chart. So the 3090 Ti should be able to get up in excess of 130 megahash, maybe around 135 at the most. And I was seeing some rates up around that height, but the average, just about in excess of 125 or so. So yeah, hopefully, $5, $6, maybe even $7 a day peak is a nice little bumper. And that's what I love about like treating the PC. It's so versatile, right? What you can do with the PC, running the miner. Although this room's getting warm again. That's the one downside, and we are going to be into spring and summertime. But it's in my basement. It's a pretty big space. There's ventilation. We don't really come in here. All it means is that I sweat it out when I come down here to record YouTube videos, but I turn it down and I can open the door and cool it off. So that's really well contained. And that's really, I think, like I mentioned in the past, one of the enabler features or functions of why I went for PC gaming in general, is the fact that I can put the computer in the basement, I can put it away in a room, I can crank fans, it can run cool, don't have to see it, don't have to hear it. And so size and heat and noise, all of that stuff is nullified. And I can play games in my theater, I can play games in my living room, It can mine when I'm not gaming, all the majority, 99% of the hours of the day, because I certainly don't play games as much as I might have used to or like to. But so yeah, that's the 3090 Ti EVGA. Now that I've cracked it open, I'm kind of really glad that I did, and we'll see what's next for video cards and PC gaming, and let's hopefully see some more Sony first-party releases announced. I still need to play The Last of Us 2. I'd rather do that on the computer, Ghost of Tsushima and all that stuff. So yeah, pretty happy, and I think I'm edging ever closer to the cliff of yanking that PS5 and that Xbox Series X kind of off of my rack, you know, reset them and get them up for sale, and just kind of stick to gaming, PC, Switch, and then Apple TV Arcade. My kids play some games on there. So if you have any questions, please post in the comments. And yeah, so I'll keep touching on this stuff, and some more ideas about like home theater gaming coming up, particularly with PC. And I really still want to kind of show off, now that I got the scope screen in the theater, and for PC games that natively support scope aspect ratios, oh my gosh, it's like God of War, for example. It's just so awesome. So I'll plan some dedicated content on that coming up here. So please like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Look down in the description for some ways to support the channel, and thanks so much for watching.